CeNSE 2.0, IISc, sorry, IISc, yes. I think the whole JEE preparation, the next is AI. And I think, but for me, Kharagpur was not just about studies, but it's also about, I was average, I studied extremely little. My brother was a big influence on me. Hate to say it was the best period of my life. My nanoswimmer or nanorobot sort of realized that I wasn't really enjoying the research as me and the lab and the research. Except I did not have any paper till I graduated. The INUP program. It's amazing. Amazing, amazing.
Represent India on global platform front of. You work with 35 researchers.
A struggle actually, I think. Mark my word, but I hate it.
Yes.
I absolutely hate it. This is life is mostly about those micro failures.
Yes. Attention spans and all are very small.
These expectations are probably higher for women in general.
Hi guys, welcome back to my podcast. And today's guest is not just a researcher or not a professor. He is also chair at CeNSE ISc, and he is a kind person, and he is also think about people. He is a great scientist, and yes, we meet today and we talk with him, Ambarish Ghosh. So welcome to my podcast, sir, and thank you so much giving me your time.
Thank you, Zalak.
And yes,
Thank you for inviting me.
thank you, sir. So my first question is like a part of a researcher, and we forget you are a scientist or professor. Who is a real Ambarish Ghosh?
Oh. um, well, first and foremost, a human being, a very highly alive human being. You know, don't get confused by my last name. I'm very much alive, very much human, and trying to wear many hats that come my way. Sometimes I'm a dad, sometimes I'm working and with the students to do research. Sometimes I wear the hat of a chair. Sometimes I'm playing soccer with IISc Gymkhana, many more. I think it's these multiple roles that define who we are as a
Yes.
human.
एंड लाइक आप बचपन से ही साइंस के प्रति अलाइन थे या लाइक इट जस्ट हैपेंड साइंस?
It happened slowly. I think somewhere in 10th or 11th onwards, I sort of started to like first doing math. I wanted to do math. And then at some point, I think I got introduced to this very nice problem books in physics, Irodov. Many of us grew up with Irodov when we were young. And that sort of convinced me that I wanted to do physics. And I did not want to do anything else apart from physics. So I continued to study physics. And then sometime along the lines, of course, beyond physics, got interested in many, many new things.
Yes. So like, can you highlight your childhood?
Okay, so childhood was, I was very lucky. I went into a school that had about 1 hour of sports period every day. So from 12 to 1, I think I've played football or something else at least 1 hour during the day, every day during my school hour. And very often I used to come back and again go out to play something or the other. So I was a very, very avid sportsman for most of my life, I would say, in school. So that was the main passion at that time. And at some point, of course, other interests started coming in.
Yes. And how you get IIT Kharagpur?
Oh, it's a fantastic place. At least I hear these days Kharagpur have, well, not Kharagpur, overall education system have become more competitive, more, I suppose people have become more ambitious. And I guess that's also part of the overall evolution. But for me, Kharagpur was not just about studies, but it's also about getting exposed to, first time, culture beyond where I grew up in Calcutta, sort of getting exposed to folks from many different states, many different backgrounds, and almost all of them were bounded by science in some sense. But overall, there was interest. There were a lot of cultural activities, etc., that I got involved. So yeah, it sort of made my personality grow more than just academics.
Okay. And which exam you write for getting
Kharagpur,
admission?
this is the standard IIT JEE.
IIT.
Yeah, even in my ancient times,
Okay.
IIT JEE was the mode of entry. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So that time, how you prepared and like how you start your preparation?
For JEE. So I don't think I was very focused or ambitious in that sense. I just did whatever was there in my school, and but I was very interested in certain topics. So like physics, I was trying to go and solve the problems, and also sort of got a little bit interested in chemistry towards the end. Pretty much studied on my own. We did have some help beyond school, but not too much, I would say. So just trying to solve problems as much as possible and trying to be curious. I think
And
that helped.
आज के जो जेई के स्टूडेंट्स है,
Right.
सो उनको कैसे प्रिपेयर करना चाहिए और आपको लगता है वो ही कंपटीशन है अभी भी और लाइक इट्स इंक्रीज और डिक्रीज?
It's increased tremendously, and I frankly, I don't like the level of um, competition that today's kids are going through. It's not worth it, in my opinion. I think the whole JEE preparation I enjoyed in my time because it allowed me to be curious. But what I worry and what I'm hearing from other people, younger people, is a lot of these days, a lot of this preparation is also about memorizing methods, doing it very quickly, and not really mulling over the problem.
Yes.
This is what I'm hearing and seeing it to some extent.
Yes.
And that part, I somehow, I'm not a big fan of that approach.
So what is your advice of JEE aspirant?
I mean, prepare for it, but just don't take it as the end of the world either way. It's just an exam, nothing more than that. But the preparation does help you to clear your concepts, think deeper, because it really teaches you how to solve problems, and that's the best part about the JEE preparation. But to be able to do that in the fastest possible time using a method that somebody else has figured out already for you, I'm not sure if it's worth it. It's my personal opinion.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and sir, मतलब like आप आपकी लाइफ IIT खड़गपुर में कैसी रही?
So lots of different activities. I was probably not studying as much as I should have, but was involved in a lot of dramatics, different type of sports, everything. So in fact, in my hostel, I was actually, I was probably the one who was involved in pretty much all the outside activities outside.
Okay.
So yeah, I really spent 5 years, all this learning about all these different things. So that was
So you're an average student or?
Average. I was average. I studied extremely little back in Kharagpur. Towards the end, perhaps I become a little bit serious because I realized that I have to probably think about doing something more, started to worry a little bit about what I will do next. And at that time, I started preparing for GRE and subject GRE a little bit seriously.
Then how you started thinking like research India में नहीं करना है or like you go outside?
Yeah. So I'll tell you. I mean, for me, one of my brother was a big influence on me, and he was doing a PhD at that point within India. And I mean, he did his PhD in India, and he has been extremely successful as later as a faculty member. So I don't think it's fundamentally any. So in terms of doing PhD at that time in India, the opportunities were far limited in terms of the types of experiments one could do, in terms of the different types of science one could do, so on and so forth. For me, for some reason, towards the end of my master's program, I got very interested in optics and lasers. And at least at that point of time, there was none that was available to work on in India. So I wanted to try this. I was actually open towards working at IISc or TIFR even at that time. But somehow after talking to my brother, and I sort of realized that if I wanted to be an experimentalist, I'm talking about this is back in many years ago, 25 years ago. At least at that time, it did not seem like the right place to do the type of experimental research that I wanted to do. So hence the decision.
Yes. So at Brown University, how was your experience?
Oh, Brown, it was hate to say it was the best period of my life. My PhD was, I know PhD can be frustrating. It was also very, I
Yes.
had my own share of frustrating times. But on the whole, I think I grew maximum as a human, as an academic, as both personally, professionally, academically during my PhD uh, period back at Brown. Initially, I went there. I was extremely confused what I wanted to do, because after going there, suddenly I was exposed to all these different research
Yes.
ideas. It's a new culture. This is really sort of even before internet was it's so
Yes.
accessible to everybody. I didn't know what to expect. So the first 1 year, I was just taking courses, trying to started working in a lab. Um, I was completely overwhelmed with all the different possibilities. So I actually started working in a lab, and after working in about a year or so, I sort of realized that I wasn't really enjoying the research as much as I thought it would. I mean, the group was excellent, the professor was absolutely fantastic, but somehow it wasn't exciting enough for me. And then I changed my group, and this was almost about 2.5 years after joining. And for everybody, all of my other batchmates,
Yes.
they were well ahead. They were already, deep into their research, and I just decided, well, I wanted a fresh start. And it was a bold decision, but then in retrospect, I think it was one of the best decisions of my life. I worked with an extremely well-known professor, Professor Humphrey Maris. He was a rank experimentalist who could also do theory better than most theorists. His contributions in fundamental physics are among the best in the world. And then he also developed technologies which has been taken by the major semiconductor manufacturers.
Yes.
So he could really wear many hats and could do it with, great success, great impact across all these different areas. So working with Humphrey was probably the life-changing experience for me. So
But
that,
when you change your group,
correct.
that time, like people told something, na, like, अब क्या कर रहे हो? Like it's think
They
about
did.
it.
They did. But then again,
It affects you.
well, it's up to you. You can always have a subtle way of not giving it too much importance. So if you decide not to give it too much importance, then it's fine. So yeah, people see, a lot of times people will give you advice and they mean well for you, but at the end you have to find out what you like versus what you don't. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but in retrospect, it was a good decision. That's in my opinion. So that really shaped me. And I think before that, I was probably a serious student back at Brown. I was doing reasonably well. But then after joining, I really got inspired. And then it was me and the lab and the research. I was 24/7, 365 doing that.
Yes. So, like, आपको कभी ऐसा लगा कि PhD is not for me, और like कभी quit करने का सोचा है?
No, no, I did not. I wanted to do research. For me, it was not about PhD versus masters versus something else. It was about whether I wanted to do research. Very frankly, I was not sure even when I left Kharagpur. I liked physics, so I wanted to continue. The first 2 years, I started doing research, but then the type of research that I initially started, I didn't like it. Okay, so the question was not about quitting PhD or not. The question was whether do I wanted to do research or not. Whether it's PhD or masters, that's a separate question. And at that time, after 2 years, I realized that I do want to do research, but at that time I was also very sure about the type of research I wanted to do. And so then, once I started doing it, that question never arose again, that whether I wanted to do research or
Yes.
not. So,
And what is the point of view of your family on this
so,
thing?
so that actually, I must tell you, I've been extremely blessed. I've been very lucky, and I must tell you that way. Probably, uh, I know on one hand, my brother sort of already went through this journey, so the family understood what it takes to do research.
Yes.
Long years and all of that. So there was support from that side, and people were okay that being an academic, you will probably not be a multi-billionaire or something like that, and people were quite
Yes.
okay with it. Remember during my time, there was also this whole software boom, and all my friends from Kharagpur as well as school were very much into software and getting jobs right at the onset. Very frankly, my family never ever bothered about that. And as long as what I was doing was making me happy, that was perfectly okay with them. And I've been lucky that even in future with my spouse, it also stayed in that way. And,
Yes.
and that made again a very, very big difference. And that support has continued even now when I'm working, I don't know, 18 hours a day, spending time from early in the morning till late in the night in the department. So
Yes.
thanks to them. And now even with the kids,
Yes.
that support continued.
Yeah. So then you went to Harvard.
That's
Then
right.
how was your experience at Harvard also?
So I did a PhD, and then PhD went reasonably well, except I did not have any paper till I graduated. All my papers came out after I graduated, but I had enough
Oh,
results. Oh yeah, so again I was stressed about it, but I think the results that I had were quite impactful, and the work that I did was considered by my professor and many other colleagues to be reasonably good. So I had the confidence that it will work out. So I went for an interview, and then the person at Harvard, who was also an extremely good scientist, Pierre Fisher, he sort of decided to work with me. It was a two-member group as a postdoc, and at that time I again did a change of field, because at that
yes.
time I was toying with the idea that okay, I should go back to India, and if I were to go back to India, what type of research can I do? And then I realized that, okay, it might be a little difficult to do cryogenics or low temperature physics in India. So maybe I should again go and do some optics. So
Yes.
with Pierre Fisher, I started working on an optics project. And there actually we started getting success almost from the first month of joining there. So there the postdoc research started giving results very, very quickly. So again, we did multiple different things. That was a very different type of research altogether. It was mostly me and Pierre brainstorming about an idea. We had lots of different facilities available, and we decided that, hey, let's go and try it out. And then Pierre is an excellent scientist in certain areas that I did not know anything about. Certain areas of nonlinear optics, certain areas of NMR, chemistry, a lot of things he knew extremely well. And I sort of came from the background of more low temperature, a little bit soft matter physics, and all of that.
Yes.
So we had some really, really cool new experimental ideas. If I were to look back and look at the 3, 4 projects, they were very, very unrelated in some
Yes.
sense. But then, that was the great um, uh, uh, independent research environment that we had at that time. You could try some ideas. It will, if it doesn't work, well, it doesn't work.
Yes.
But if it works, take it forward. So we were quite lucky that many of our ideas worked out.
So like, how you manage and how you learn that quickly? Like you change your project again and again. Like you change your field, na, from one field to another field, and your PhD in something else, your postdoc in something else. How you learn the things?
So the fundamental concepts are not that different, you see. I
Hmm.
mean, I think in a way, almost everything that we do sort of builds upon some very simple principles in physics. And my hands-on experience has been primarily in low temperature, in optics, and later, of course, with some amount of modeling and all of that. But based on this sort of hands-on experience, and if you have the core principles, it has actually not been that difficult. And also, one good thing is I have always worked with other people, so I always reach out to people and learn from them, and so it has not been that difficult. Actually, it's actually not that varied. If I look back, it looks a little bit different, but it's actually not that.
Yes.
Sure.
So the main thing is it's important to having a good group around you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this way, I have been extremely lucky. I mean, IISc is fantastic, right? I mean, I can go and I did not know any biology, neither do I know much now. But then there are faculty members in Department of DBG, Ramre, Deepak, folks like whom I talk to them and they teach me. So then, we formulate the problems together and try out new experiments. One great thing is the absolutely brilliant students that come to IISc and we learn together. So, for example, we did not have much idea about nitrogen vacancy centers for a long time, and then starting with two of the students, Eklavya and then Brotin, now we have actually started getting new results in this completely new field that I knew nothing about. So same goes with everything else. So that with the IISc students, I sort of learned together with them, and that's, by the way, the best experience of being a professor at IISc.
Yes.
That.
So, sir, आपने like outside India, you spent a lot time. Then how you think come back to India?
Yeah, so it's a very hard question. It's of course partially personal, in which I wanted to live in India, and not for any particular reason. Just thought that I'll be happy living here.
Yes.
That's the reason. Professionally, I think it makes sense to be in India. India has, there has been a tremendous influx of support, both in terms of infrastructure as well as in terms of the new institutes that started 25, 30 years ago, right?
Yes.
And as long as the government continues to go in this path of expansion, I think India is going to be as good as anywhere else in the world, even better than most. I mean, okay, we are very lucky. We are at CeNSE and we are at IISc. I mean, we have pretty much all the facilities that are available, much better than what I would even say most mid-tier universities of US. This is actually comparable to the top-tier universities
Yes.
of across the world, right? So we are definitely better than the mid-tier and actually competing with the top-tier. Now, considering that all these facilities are available to us, what else do you require? What else you require is the right intellectual mindset, right? The right intellectual environment. And that happens when more and more good people come and work together. And in a way, I think that is already happening in this department, in this institute, tremendously.
Yes.
Right? So it's a matter of time. All of India will become like this. Already there are fantastic pockets that are available in different places in India in certain fields. So I think India should be at the top.
So आपने लाइक जब वापस आए यूएसए से तभी आपने सोच लिया था कि आप आईएससी ही ज्वाइन करोगे एज अ प्रोफेसर और कोई और ऑप्शंस भी थे आपके पास?
I had few options. I liked IISc because I wanted to. I mean, among the different options, IISc appeared to be the best. And again, I think that has been. I'm very thankful that I took that decision.
Yes.
I did have some good offers from some other places, but IISc is IISc. Nothing beats this place. I mean, if not anything, the ability to have all these different disciplines and departments available to you within this 4 square kilometer radius, nothing beats that.
Yes, that's true.
You know this.
Then how you think to work in interdisciplinary, from physics to interdisciplinary department? How you think to join?
But why? I mean, I think the way I would say this is, I mean, physics is, of course, I would call it a way of thinking, really. I mean,
Yes.
of course, every discipline finally uses physics to some extent. I mean,
Yes.
a mechanical engineer uses physics, right? So does an electrical engineer. So I would even not. I just think that I work on problems that requires expertise from multiple disciplines to come together. But typically, our approach towards solving these problems is almost always that of a physicist. I think so. Even for a biology problem, of course, I do work with biologists, but then the way we look at the problem very often is perhaps a more physicist slash engineer's angle. Okay? So I think that way, I don't think there is any contradiction between being a physicist and working in a multidisciplinary environment.
And how was your experience at CeNSE?
Oh, CeNSe is it's amazing. I think I mean, thanks to the founders, I think it started with RP in Afghan, spearheaded by Vasu, and and not just 3 of them, but also all the colleagues at this center. And when I say colleagues, I mean the faculty members as well as the staffs who have been here for such a long time and the students who have really contributed to the growth of this department. We have a very, very unique environment. I think what really demarcates CeNSe is, of course, the facilities are fantastic, but what really demarcates is the environment. I mean, what I really like is, you're not my student, right? But I don't think you
Yes.
ever hesitated knocking on my door.
Yes.
And I think that's very important.
Yes.
Okay. It's also very important that, I go and, I'm discussing, I don't know, I'll come up with some example. I discuss stochastic resonance with Pavan, who is a material scientist by
Yes.
background. I go and learn thermodynamics from Vasu, and few days back, Shankar was teaching me about some processes that I had no idea about. I mean, that is like all of this different expertise condensed in this one building.
Yes.
And I really urge everybody who is around this ecosystem to take the most of this.
I like the main thing about sense, like everyone taking care of students.
Yeah, I
In
think
like that, we have that mental, that wellness center,
absolutely,
wellness thing, committee. It's like it's done a well job.
absolutely. See, I think very frankly, of course, CeNSE is very serious about it, but I'm confident so is IISc to a large extent.
Yes.
I think, I mean, you want to live happily, right?
Yes.
You want to work and be happy. Now, it is impossible to uh, say that you will not get stress. I mean, of course, things will not work. If experiments have started working from day one, then those experiments are boring experiments, right? But then how you deal with this frustration, depends a lot on the environment that is around you. In that sense, I think Sense, as well as many of the other departments at IISc, overall IISc, have done a good job in bringing this consciousness that, amongst all this stress, you need to ensure that your basic wellness is in place. There is nothing that is bothering you that you cannot logically get rid of.
Yes.
And this consciousness is something that I hope all of IISc, all of academics takes very seriously. So yeah, so we are very proud and very serious about this at IISc. Not just students, equally important, our staff members and every Sense family member.
Yes. So like सेंस इंडिया के सेमीकंडक्टर इकोसिस्टम को कैसे सपोर्ट कर रहा है?
I think our facilities is perhaps our linkage, but along with those facilities comes the tremendous intellectual expertise, the broad intellectual expertise that comes with it. I think you might be able to find pockets in India where there are a few groups that work in this area of semiconductors. What Sense does is look at this whole semiconductor mission from multiple disciplines altogether. This is where Sense will have a niche that no other place in the country will. Okay? And of course, the facilities goes without saying. Through our training programs, we are going to contribute as academics to the semiconductor ecosystem in a very very deep manner.
And if koi like in sense right now it's not a bachelor program.
Correct.
So if bachelor people wants to uh, join sense, or like they wants to do some project and all, so how they can join?
So there are ways of, we now have these programs, these research experience programs. So this is already, I think this came out a couple of months ago. You can apply through that program and see that if you want to do your bachelor's thesis or master's thesis. I think the provisions exist and we want to actually expand upon it. So through our training programs, we are going to reach out to more people across the country. So there will be more opportunities for undergraduates across the country. I think at the end we also have to understand that finally there are really only about 18 or 19 faculty groups and our facilities who can provide this training. So our numbers finally are going to be limited. But then again, we will try to reach out to more, as many
Yes.
as many as possible.
So if any students from tier 3 or tier 2 colleges, like they wants to come sense and they wants to explore,
Right.
then what is the opportunity for them?
So I think I would suggest the first and foremost they can come through the INUP program. So the Indian Nanoelectronics Users Program came almost 18, 19 years ago, precisely because of this requirement. I mean, in this huge country, I mean, we cannot sit in our own ivory towers and say that, hey, we are only going to do some, great research while, it doesn't, the rest of the country should only look at us and and be wowed. I don't think that's absolutely, that is absolutely incorrect. We want to ensure that this knowledge reaches all levels of the Indian academia.
Yes.
Okay, so this is exactly precisely why the INUP program got started. And there again, we have these multiple levels of the familiarization program, the hands-on program, and then carrying out a research program. At least in the past with the INUP program, I don't know, Zalak, if you remember, if you're aware of this, there has been research groups from other universities who have come, carried out their research, completely covered through this particular program. They didn't even have to pay a single dime from their own project funds. But then using that research, they went into new patent applications, new publications, and one of the policy decisions that CeNSE had taken at that time was, in none of these publications or patents, there will be name of any CeNSE faculty or staff. There is absolutely no conflict of interest. You come, you do your research, we will support you. If your idea is good and if your idea is feasible, we'll try our best to support you. And I think this is what we owe to the ecosystem, to this country. So we will continue this. I mean, this is absolutely a guarantee from the entire center to the rest of the country.
So like कोई एक वर्ड आप बोलना चाहोगे सेंस के बारे में तो वो क्या होगा?
Oh, amazing. Amazing, amazing. I mean, come on. I mean, I think CeNSE and IISc are really amazing places. I wish we appreciate this place more.
Yes.
We should.
I enjoyed like this
Very good.
stuff
Very good.
a lot. Like, yes, and I'm very happy to I joined CeNSE.
Thank you.
Yes. I don't express my feelings in words, but CeNSE did so much for me. And here I'm not feeling like I'm outsider or I don't know anything. Everyone feels like, okay, we also don't know anything. Now
Exactly.
we learn together, and
Absolutely.
that thing is very.
That is the right, absolutely, that's the right attitude. I think the moment you accept that you don't know anything, now you are ready to learn.
Yes.
Okay. And very frankly, the opportunities are endless. That if you simply, let's say you have a problem, and let's say you've already done your homework, you should always start doing some homework. Okay, I want to solve this problem, and I have tried to read, but I'm not able to understand because, in spite of reading, getting all my help from ChatGPT and this and that, I'm still not getting it.
Yes.
Trust me, if your question is well framed, you probably will be able to find at least one person within this building who would be able to answer this.
Yes.
Because of the broad expertise we have here.
Yes.
At least point you to the right direction.
I met in sense like who is from mechanical background, who has
Exactly.
Materials, physics, chemistry, even biology, electronics, like.
Exactly.
And the thing is, if I join some other department or some other college, so I can get like some amount of expertise there. If I join electronics, then I got electronics people around me. But in sense, like I can talk with anyone,
Absolutely.
and that's the great thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is where I think CeNSE is different from most of the other departments, where there are multiple threads that are all interconnected.
Yes.
Right? I mean, if you look at our research program, there is also a lot of connection between the two. And I feel that at the end, for many real life problems, problems don't care which discipline you are, right? Problems are problems. And then what tools you use need not come from a certain discipline. It can come from any discipline.
Yes.
And I think that is probably where there are more and more requirement for such interdisciplinary environments.
So, how was your feeling when you represent India on global platform front of German Vice Chancellor?
Oh, he was actually very happy to see the the German Chancellor actually. He's the
Yes.
Chancellor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the German Chancellor was very happy, extremely impressed with the facilities.
Yes.
And, I think I could see the excitement after we entered the clean room and started. I think the first we showed him that I don't know if you've seen the clean room. We have all these different length scales, right? From
Yes,
the
yes.
blue whale to Sachin Tendulkar and going down. So he was amazed because I think from his background he didn't know about all these different length scales, and then he was very very impressed when he talked about our INUP program, our outreach program, and in fact he was asking about how we are reaching out to an international audience too, which we by the way do. I was very happy when he used our joystick and tried to move our Nanoswimmers.
Yeah.
So that part he liked a lot, and actually all the demos he engaged and really asked very pertinent questions, all of that. So yeah, so it was actually a very enjoyable visit for us as well. If you find somebody who is really interested, it's fun talking to that person, right?
Yes.
So yeah, would love to have him again.
Yes. So अब सेंस को लाइक 5 साल के बाद कहाँ देखते हो?
I think we are now reaching a place where we are already thinking about the next phase, and the thought process has already begun. See, what has happened now is there is tremendous intellectual expertise that is already present in the center. In terms of fundamental science, technology development, one of the things that we have now realized is if we now want to make impact at a global scale, at an international scale, okay, both scientifically as well as in terms of technology development for the country, for the world, our facilities would have to go towards the next phase. So now we have to now start thinking about going beyond our existing one academic fab model.
Yes.
So there has to be an academic fab because core research is our bread and butter. That has to go. But along with that, we now have to start thinking about research threads supported by facilities that allows you to go very deep into the level of building prototypes. Even for fundamental science, now the requirement of such fundamental science is you do this thing and not demonstrate it with 2 devices, 3 devices, but can you demonstrate across 1,000 devices? These sort of things to do in an academic setting is not easy. Okay. What do academics from the Western world or even Japan, Korea they go to? They probably have centers which specifically cater to such requirements. In India, that still doesn't exist in a scale that we need. So we are now thinking about CeNSE 2.0,
Yes.
where combined with present CeNSE 1.0, we would have a facility that caters to the entire academic R&D system, where you can try out new things, various types of new ideas, novel R&D you can try out. But then in parallel, there can be dedicated, call it lines, call it a dedicated set of tools that will cater to a certain research threads where you are going and scaling up things to the next level. So in a way, I don't know, there are various ways. I think every faculty member would have their own definition of what the 2.0 would be. In my opinion, it's something that connects core R&D, core academic R&D to some sort of a prototype and scaling up facility that doesn't exist right now in the country. We need this desperately. So in 5 years, hopefully, we would have graduated by then. There will be
Yes.
something along these lines already present.
Yes. So, like, आपको क्या लगता है कि आप अपने जब PhD स्टूडेंट्स को देखते हो, so like I talk with them, so like you work with 35 researchers right now in your lab, and like आप कैसे हैंडल करते हो, like you are a chairperson, you are like, and also you had daily discussion one on one, and you also working at late nights, then how you manage work life balance and all?
Yeah, so firstly, I think I must tell you, many of the researchers are related to our startup, and very frankly, there our CEO and CTO sort of really takes care of the the many of the code details. I am of course well informed, but some of the details about many of this applied research are finally looked at by extremely experienced group members. So that's one good thing. But in terms of, I think, work-life balance here, it's a struggle actually. I think, especially after being the chair, it has not been easy. But I do have some very strict time management rules. I typically keep my mornings entirely free for academics, and that's almost a no compromise time for me.
Yes.
So everybody knows about this. You have seen the ominous signs outside my door, right? I mean,
Yes.
don't knock. So I do have a very strong lock period. I do keep my 12 to 3 window for all my administrative stuff. Unfortunately, it's not enough. So things sometimes go late in the night. One of my golden principles is I should not be the one who should be slowing others down as a chair of the department. So I always, in this window that I have demarcated, I try to take the most urgent stuff, especially things that are related to, I don't know, some decision that needs to be taken with respect to a student or a faculty member's research or a staff
Yes.
member's salary and all that. That always takes the priority. And typically, after the 3 o'clock window, I again try to connect with my group a little bit and try to pen up my work. And I always take my evenings off. And I don't know if you know, but I'm very often either in the gymkhana or at home. And sometimes late in the night, I do come back or I walk. But yeah, it has been a little stressful. The point is, very often there are things that come up as a chair that are not in my hands, and that's not part of the timetable.
Yes.
That can get a little stressful.
And one quality you want in your PhD student?
Oh, just being curious. Everything else falls in place. If you're curious about your research, truly curious, everything else will fall in place. Because if you're curious, will automatically, I don't have to tell somebody that you need to go and do the literature search. If you're curious, you've already done that. And now let's say you have done some research and you don't understand the result. At this point, if you're curious, you probably would have already started thinking what the next experiment should be to answer this question. So everything then falls in place. I think I've been lucky that most of my students are, actually all my students are very hardworking. There is no question there. And I believe that is because they have become curious.
Yes.
Okay, I never actually had to tell anybody that, hey, you have to work this many hours. This is a discussion I have never had with any student ever. But I have always asked them to be, if you don't understand this, why have you not thought about this possibility? That curiosity drives.
So you also run a startup. Okay.
Yeah.
So how research and startup, how we people like हम इस दोनों को like combine कैसे कर सकते हैं startup और research को?
See, for in my opinion, the startup that came is a natural extension of the research that we did for. Well, actually, the startup came in 2020, and I joined IISc 2009, right? So, I think that 2020 startup was sort of a culmination or an obvious extension of the last 11 years of research. In a way, whatever that was done, it sort of built upon that expertise, built upon the knowledge, and realized that in order to take this entire field to the next level, we need to have a product. And very frankly, I've been again extremely lucky with choosing my partners. I mean, both Demand and Shanmukh are excellent, is an excellent team, and I think we have now, I mean, that group right now is focusing on oral health, but also we have started some experiments on cancer research, and all of our group's research sort of directly feeds into this commercialization effort. In a way, there is only up to a certain level an academic researcher can do. Beyond a certain level, this research has to be taken up by the industry and finally taken for deployment. So in a way, I see a very natural progression there. In terms of my time management, again, I've been very lucky because really there are lots and lots of hard work that a medical device startup would have to go through.
Yes.
And very frankly, Shanmukh and the band takes care of many of those details while my support has been primarily from the perspective of the technical support to the best extent I can give them. So I think it has been a good team, and I do have a lot of hope of where Theranautilus will reach.
So आपका रिसर्च एक स्कूल स्टूडेंट को बताना चाहोगे, लाइक आप क्या करते हो, और उनको लाइक ऐसे बताना चाहोगे, मतलब इंडिया के बारे में आपके रिसर्च रिसर्च कैसे काम आएगा लाइक ग्लोबली, तो आप कैसे बताओगे?
So if I were to take the nanoswimmer or nanorobot thread of my research, I'll probably explain to the school student in a way that, well, imagine something very tiny that you cannot see. Maybe take your a human hair and cut it 100 times, and then whatever is that object. Imagine billions of those objects moving through human body, going to a place where a disease is, and trying to remove that disease. So that would be a simple way I would
Yes.
try to explain to maybe a fourth standard or a fifth standard student. But of course, I will tell the same story to a professor, but then I would qualify it with all sorts of gory details about how these little things work.
So मतलब लाइक आपका रिसर्च अभी जो कर रहे हो नैनो स्विमर्स पे, सो लाइक वो इंडिया में कब इम्प्लीमेंट होगा, लाइक फॉर डिसीज?
So if things go well, then the first product should be on the shelves by 2027.
Yes.
That's the best case scenario. I mean, right now our clinical trial process has already begun. We are just, I think the pilot trials have already begun. So as soon as that happens, we are very confident things will work. Then there are, of course, few more regulatory steps, and hopefully there will be something on medicine store shelves for all of us.
Yes.
So that's very exciting.
Then how we started to thinking about this?
See, in a way, this particular technology, that came out in 2009, it already got commercialized by a certain company in the US, and they were taking it to a certain direction. And one of the things I was realizing, and I had some chat with them, is while they were taking it in a certain thread, me as somebody who was sort of involved with this platform technology right from the beginning, could also see that there are so many other threads that one can do. And I don't think that company is even thinking about these threads.
Yes.
So I thought that, these threads are equally important. So I wanted to really go deep into, at that time, cancer research. But then cancer was too difficult a starting problem for a startup.
Yes.
So that's where Shanmukh, our dentist, reached out to me, and we thought that, well, this would be a fantastic thing to try. Something in oral health, in dentistry, where the gap from lab to the market is slightly shorter. We, of course, made lots of mistakes over the last few years, but now we have a definite pipeline and a plan to take the first product in the market. And we already have 2 or 3 that are sort of following the same path.
Yes.
So I think that thought process began with seeing and recognizing the tremendous potential that became obvious in about 10 years of research.
So, what is your opinion on Indians research?
I think Indian research can be more ambitious. I think it has already. I've already seen the overall quality of research that have improved in India. In the past, again, because of the lower number of researchers, the lower amount of funding, there were really very handful of places where quality research could be taken. And now the quality and quantity both have improved dramatically. But I think what is still probably lacking is extremely ambitious problem taking. I think there is high quality papers that are coming out, which is good, which is great. There is also a lot of thrust from the academic researchers to take the published work into the next level of actual deployment in terms of commercialization or something else. But the part that is still missing, in my opinion, are problems that are truly difficult yet truly impactful. I'm yet to see, I would like to see a much larger number of extremely difficult problems to be taken up by Indian researchers. That would be my dream.
Yes. So like after like 10 to 20 years, Indian research, they're like going to do something great. I thought like that
Well, after 10 or 20 of what? From now?
from now.
Oh, from now, I think. Oh, I think if Indian research gets supported, continues to get supported, and there is both intellectual freedom while at the same time support from the industry, while both these threads of support continue to be there, I think we are talking about extremely impactful results. Many more. It will grow exponentially over the next 5 years. I'm absolutely confident. I think, mark my word, by 2030, we will have several things out in the world where, as an Indian, you will be proud to say that, hey, this came from our country.
Yes.
I'm absolutely confident about that.
Then like गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी कौन सी ऐसी है जो हमको चेंज करनी चाहिए और कौन सी अच्छी है जो हमें बहुत ज़्यादा सपोर्ट करती है इंडिया के रिसर्च के लिए?
See, I don't think I can point out a single policy that is good or bad. It's a little bit is in the because all policies to a large extent come with some thought process, some due
Yes.
diligence. But then there are certain types of thinking that perhaps we can discuss. So one of the things is, and like almost everything else, there is a good and bad to both. So one of the things that have come more and more in recent times is, this sort of stress towards um, actual societal deployment, and I think that's great. That is very good. It will be good to have some stress, some support towards research, where you can think about a pipeline where whatever thing that you are doing finally goes and reaches the society. And there are various schemes from the government where the government is saying that, hey, when you do this, make sure you have a team of collaborators so that you can actually look at this problem. Think about a way in which you will have partners from industry, partners from different other universities who come in and solve this problem. I think that's great. That's what I like. But the danger there is that very often there is also this necessity of doing certain things where the end impact is not obvious, but is still our problem. There seems to be this equation that one has tried to solve, but nobody has tried to solve. It's not
Yes.
clear if this equation, if you solve, will be useful to anybody. I think we need to ensure that thread remains alive. My worry is in this whole frenzy of getting these products in the market, the blue sky research is completely forgotten. That should not happen. Because at the end, if you want to have complete quantum jumps in thinking, out of the 30 blue sky research problems, one or two will actually come up with those. And those one or two are going to define
Yes.
what next 30 years is going to be. So that's just a word of caution that I always have in mind.
और सर लाइक एज इंडियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम को हमको चेंज करना चाहिए या लाइक एज इट इज इट्स अ फाइन?
I think the new education policy has lots of correct things. Again, I do believe many of them should get in the process of implementation. I think scientific temper is something extremely important. And in all honesty, in new education policy, I should really read it a little bit more carefully. But in education system, according to me, uh, um, we should call somebody educated, at least in science and STEM, is if the person comes with the scientific temper, this ability to question and this ability to have a scientific approach towards observations and towards
Yes.
decisions, right? So that's necessary. The next is AI, and I think this is something that our education policies, our education system would have to adopt very quickly. The old ways of looking and judging people through certain types of ways of doing exams, we have to rethink. Okay, we have to probably rethink the way our students are taught in classroom. There are two ways of teaching, right? One in which you give the information, and you explain it to them, and then the student tries to remember or
Yes.
understand the concepts, and from there maybe he or she will be able to solve some problems. I personally have a feeling that type of information or explaining type of teaching would have to be now modified. Perhaps now is the time to go towards the type of research where you give people more projects. And I think to a large extent, new education policy does support a lot of that. Where you do projects where you say that, well, this is the problem you have to solve. And in order to solve this problem, these are the many resources, now figure it out. I think that probably gives rise to more holistic education if implemented correctly.
Yes.
And I think that second part is what India's education system lacks tremendously.
मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि एजुकेशन सिस्टम के वजह से स्टूडेंट्स आज है ना बहुत ही टेंशन में रहते हैं, लाइक नॉट फॉर लाइक 11th 12th, इट्स लाइक
Even before, right?
four fifth grade student also like okay we have to do this, we have to do this. और वो लोग है ना ज्यादा ही मतलब लाइक बचपन से लोगों को बोल दिया जाता है कि लाइक आपको आईआईटी जाना है या डॉक्टर बनना है, सो आपको अभी से है ना प्रिपेयर करना स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा. लाइक कंपटीशन इतना है नहीं, बट आई डोंट नो कैसे, पर बचपन से ही है ना लोगों के अंदर वो चीज आ जाती है कि लाइक हमको मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, अदरवाइज लाइक लोग आगे निकल जाएंगे और हम फेल हो जाएंगे. सो एजुकेशन सिस्टम
absolutely.
हमको यही सिखाता है कि लाइक यू हैव टू बी नंबर वन, अदरवाइज यू आर.
I hate it, Zana.
Yes.
I absolutely hate it. This is such a wrong thing to do to our next generation. And exactly what you just said, right? The problem is we are sort of telling people milestones. Ki by this time you are this old, you have to be this particular profession. That is so much against the way education is supposed to be, right?
Yes.
Education should only teach you to be curious. I mean, if you're curious, then you find out what you like the most rather than giving these milestones, correct? And I think this has to do not just with education system, with our entire society. We're just giving people milestones and it doesn't matter how we get there.
Yes.
That is exactly, that is completely the opposite to what we should be doing, right? We should be telling people that, hey, this is something to learn because, this will answer you these questions. Are you not curious about these questions? That's the way education should proceed. In the process, some people might like more that, okay, I think I like to read about this literature far more than anything else. I really feel passionate about it.
Yes.
Let that person go in this direction. Somehow, and we are all equally guilty as members of this society that we do not have this environment in our society. So I agree with you, 150% on this. This is something we have to collectively change.
You ever face failure in your life?
Yeah, I don't know, define failure. I mean, micro failures.
Yes, micro.
Oh, micro failures is every day. I mean,
Yeah.
99% of the experiments that I'll start my PhD. 99% of the experiments I tried did not work.
Yes.
But that 1%, very often what used to happen, I would try, nothing will work. Then I try this, didn't work. Then I try this, didn't work. And then I come up with, maybe this will work.
Yes.
And then one fine day at 8 p.m. in the night, in the oscilloscope, that little signal will come, and then that 1% will make that other 99%
Yes.
completely worthwhile, right? So I mean, that's the. So life is mostly about those micro failures, no?
Yes.
But those micro failures are the ones which allows that 1%. So if you enjoy that 1%, that little oscilloscope kink that made your day, then I think you're ready.
But
for
now
science.
students' attention spans and all are very small. So they are like, they got a failure or some negative thoughts or something. So they are like, okay, now we are not going to do this thing.
I know, and this is a problem. This is a huge problem. I blame it on this online presence to a large extent. See, I mean, I think this constant being connected to this virtual world where only successes and failures are all sort of given in 0 and 1.
Yes.
Right? And things where people comment with a thumbs up and thumbs down, where everything is either a +1 or a -1, right? I
Mm.
think these are the sort of things that we have to consciously avoid. And I don't think the online presence is going to go away. I think it goes back to you saying that, I just don't care. I know what I want, I am enjoying it.
Yes.
And as long as I am true to myself in this, then you are immune from all these external influences. But I fully agree, Jalak. The attention span has reduced. The people's abilities to take micro failures, which are necessary, have
Yes.
also reduced. And you have to be conscious about it in your own PhD for this.
So, what is your advice to first year PhD student?
It's a different lifestyle altogether. Start with that. I don't think you are in a college hostel anymore.
Yes.
You are not in a full-fledged work environment, but while you are in university, this is also a professional environment. So first and foremost, try to be disciplined and professional. This is really number one. I think almost everybody in college has led to some extent an indisciplined life. As a PhD student, life should become more disciplined. You got to set your priorities right. You are here to, of course, you are working towards a degree, but in the process of getting the degree, you are learning about a lot of things that are otherwise, not available in your courses, in your um, in your books and all that. Most of the knowledge that you will learn will actually be developed by you. So you are the one who's developing that knowledge and then telling it to the rest of the world.
Yes.
Most of what you are going to learn is not there in any book, right? That's what your PhD thesis is
Yes.
all about. So this requires a very, very different way of thinking. So first and foremost, get into a fully disciplined and, you know, uh, um, a professional mindset. Subsequently, set your expectations right. The answers to the questions that you are looking for do not exist. Correct. Therefore, when you start thinking about a problem, do not expect your advisor to have those answers. Do not expect your senior students to have those answers. Learn by yourself reaching out and trying to find the answer. Can I figure it out? Okay. So as soon as you have this change in mindset, PhD is for you.
And I think PhD किसके लिए बनी है मतलब like people are doing PhD for the just extended some things like okay now we are not getting jobs so okay we do PhD
Yeah,
so
I hope that's not the case. I hope PhD students here do it because they are interested to create new knowledge. I think that should be the primary motivation. That PhD allows you to go beyond whatever is written in the books. You know, ideally, your PhD thesis should result in a paragraph being added to another book, right? So if that's the type of motivation, and if you're genuinely curious, maybe something that you did, if you feel curious about things, I think PhD is for you. If you're not if you don't generally feel curious in your education, but you're happy just, you might be very good at problem solving. That does not make you necessarily a very good PhD candidate in the longer term. But if you are genuinely curious when you solve a problem and you start thinking, well, this is what the problem gives, but what about if the problem were this? Then I don't know the answer to that
yes
problem. Then that's the right attitude. That's the type of thinking one would expect out of a PhD student. So that would be my
then
definition.
so like आप एक एडवाइस यंग जनरेशन को देना चाहोगे तो क्या होगी
Oh, that's very broad, but at
yes
least I think, again, I actually feel very strongly about this whole online presence. And so this is the same thing that I tell to my own kids, actually. I think this whole online presence is, to get the most out of it, because the whole online experience is also exposes you to, knowledge that was not available before. But then how you use this resource is in your hands. And then finally, one has to remember that, at the end, what matters is your core happiness, which has absolutely nothing to do with the materialistic happiness that our Instagrams and Facebooks teach
Yes.
us. That there is happiness beyond, the $1 million and all of that. I think that consciousness has to be imparted to our younger generation.
और सर आपको ये लगता है कि लाइक इंडिया के अंदर वी हैव दैट सर्टेन बाउंड्रीज लाइक टिल 28 और 29 यू यू डू लाइक सम स्टफ और लाइक शादी हो जानी चाहिए और ये सब के प्रेशर के अंदर जो पीएचडी स्टूडेंट है तो वो कैसे मैनेज कर सकता है अपने आप को.
Yeah. This is so true, and I've seen it, not just professionally, but also, at a personal level. Also, I've seen this. Of course, that exists, and it's actually, I mean, before I was telling you that at some point you just have to say, well, I don't really care. I don't think that's possible to say here because you are much of this comes from your closest ones, correct? Your own
Yes.
family members. I think it's again the country, the society is also going through some form of a change, right? I do agree, and I recognize that this these expectations are probably higher for women in general,
Yes.
right? I think it's important to have a frank conversation and start that very early with your parents and sort of saying that, well, this is what the world is going towards, and these are my dreams in life, and maybe there will be certain changes from the way you had imagined. At the end, the parents always love their kids, so I'm sure they will understand.
Yes.
What makes the kids happy will finally make them happy. But you probably also have to explain, giving examples that many other people have taken this path and they're also happy. I think at the end, it's really about a frank communication, Janab. But start that early. Don't delay it too much.
It takes so much
It
time
takes some
to
time.
like because they are also
Exactly.
around by society. So
Exactly.
yes.
There are also people who are talking to them about you, perhaps.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So yeah, it's very much expected.
So आपको क्या लगता है पीएचडी लंबी हो जाए? It's like it takes some 7 to 8 years.
No.
It's a fine, or like people doing just complete in 5 years, not with good research. So what is the
Yeah.
time period of PhD?
See, I'll tell you, in my case, very frankly, before COVID, I think almost everybody finished within the 5 year, which I actually believed very strongly. Even the one person who had more than 5 years had certain emergencies for which the person took a break. Post COVID, of course, many of the students missed out. But even right now, things are going back. I don't like when folks go beyond 5 years. Okay. I mean, during the COVID time, this particular rule got broken, but now I think I am
Yes.
back on track, at least in my own research group. Now, what is the point of these 5 years? I think the point of 5 years is also to put that level of discipline. And in all honesty, if somebody has put in the efforts, it is possible to come up within a 5 year window
Yes.
some results that can be written as a PhD thesis. In principle, if somebody is really working hard, it's possible that maybe the big papers have not been out within 4 or 5 years because good work takes time. But a PhD thesis would still be possible to write up.
Yes.
Okay? So I am kind of a believer of this absolute benchmark.
Yes.
There can be exceptions. And that does happen. There are exceptions
Yes.
in which, you go this way a little bit, you go this way a little bit. That's very possible. And there it depends on the field. It is never okay to write a bad thesis. Your thesis should have a certain criteria. Have you hypothesized the problem correctly? Is your way of thinking correct? It's possible that the hypothesis you had about the experiment was not correct. That's okay. But then have you been able to prove it through your experiments, through your analysis? Are you able to analyze? Are you able to think? not everything will result in a very successful experimental result. That's okay. So success of the experiment is not a prerequisite for a successful PhD thesis. Successful PhD thesis is a thesis where the analysis has been done correctly. The hypothesis, the control experiments, all of that has been done correctly. And that I think is possible to do in 5 years.
और सर आप लाइक आपको बहुत सारे प्रेस्टिजियस अवार्ड्स मिले हैं सो लाइक वो फ्यूल की तरह काम करते हैं आपको रिसर्च के टुवर्ड्स काम करने के लिए.
Not so much, Zalat. I mean, it feels good, of course, when somebody gets an award, but I don't think it's a fuel. I don't, at least not for me. I mean, well, certain times it's a fuel in terms of I have gotten funding to do research. That's of course
Yes.
great. That's fantastic because my research requires a lot of funding, so that helps. But personal motivation wise, I don't think. I think the problem statement is fuel enough.
Yes.
But the accolades help. They make you feel good, and of course, it's a good feeling. It's not a fuel for me.
Yes. So, what is the like best memories of your student life?
Something that I often, I don't know if I was talking to you or somebody else, right? I think the best part of my PhD life, was we
No,
used to,
entire student life.
entire student life. Oh, that's hard. I think my first, that aha moment was when I was doing a summer project in, it was an institute in Calcutta, Shaha Institute. That was my probably first real aha moment as a scientist. I was given some problem, something to do with some infinite array of some potentials and stuff like that. And there was a very tedious way in which a calculation was getting done, and we were doing it, and I got really bored. And I remember we were struggling with it. It was a boring, tedious calculation. And then I was walking down the corridor, and suddenly there was one tiny little idea that dawned that maybe this will reduce this extremely long calculation to, if I assume something, to something just like a couple of lines. So then I went there, tried it out. I excitedly went and knocked on the professor's door, and thankfully he was free, and he got extremely happy and was really sort of, this is
Yes.
very nice, very deep. Actually, that was a very beautiful moment. I still remember. I had another friend of mine who was doing the summer project with me, and we
Yes.
both got very excited about this. And so that aha moment I always remembered, and to a large extent, I think that also played a role in me taking this profession to some extent.
Yes.
So that's a moment I really remember. That first feeling of figuring out something that nobody else did.
Yes,
was
sir.
fun.
And how you enjoy your life, a part of research and
I told you about my blocks, right? All those blocks are, a different
yes.
set of challenges, and all those blocks of time are fun in their own way, their own set of challenges. As a chair, I'm learning new things about the department every day. I mean, I
Yes.
didn't even know about those. I have actually started to appreciate people even more after being the chair. Okay, so that's just the
Yes.
chair part. Of course, my morning part is my, reading and writing time, and that, of course, is a fantastic part on its own. In the evenings, CeNSE has a soccer team, and the days I play with them,
Yes.
it's an extremely enjoyable experience. So yeah, so all of that are fun in their own times, and then sometimes in the evening I go and sit with my daughter and try to solve physics problems with her,
Oh.
and then I look back at my own problems that I used to solve 30, 40 years ago. That's also fun.
Yes. So like you enjoy your life.
Every moment, yeah,
Yes.
I think so. I get tired a little bit physically, but mentally I think I'm quite happy on the
Yes.
whole.
So just give one advice to PhD students and young researchers who is ever joined to IISc and yeah.
I think stay curious and be present. I think that's extremely important. That will be my four-word answer to your question.
Yes. So yes, sir. Thank you so much
Thank you,
for
sir.
having this podcast with me,
Thank you so
and
much.
yes, thank you for giving me a time.
My
Yes.
pleasure.
Hi guys. So thank you so much watching this video till the end, and thank you so much Ambarish sir. And please let me know in the comments आपको next guest कौन चाहिए, and give me some suggestions or feedback in the comment section so I can improve my content accordingly.